Alright guys, welcome to another edition of Panic Man 10. And this time around I want to talk about why incest, being gay, and having sex with animals is wrong. I'm going to read to you all of Leviticus chapter 18, which is about the sanctity of sex, okay? Which is going to explain a lot of things when it comes to sex. But first, just to start off, I just want to point out the part here where it talks about having sex with animals and having sex with the same sex is wrong, okay? And then we'll get into the rest of it, which is actually quite long, okay? It's Leviticus chapter 18, the whole chapter, right? All the way from 1 all the way to 30, okay? Is what you're going to be doing here. But the part that I want to approach on here is just give me 1 second to find it here. Okay, so from number 22 down to 23, okay, is what I'm going to read to you here, okay? So, 22, where are you, buddy? There you are. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. Such a thing is an abomination. You shall not have carnal relations with an animal, defiling yourself with it, nor shall a woman set herself in front of an animal to mate with it. Such a thing is abhorrent, so an abomination. So right there we understand that beastiality is wrong and being gay is wrong. And this is in Leviticus, right? I did a part talking about being gay is wrong, but here's bestiality, but it goes on to actually talk about incest too. So let's read all of Leviticus chapter 18, and it's called the sanctity of sex. And I am reading from the New American Bible, the New Catholic Translation. Okay, this is chapter 18. 18:1 all the way through 30 is what we're going to read. It's long, so sit back and listen. The sanctity of sex. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites and tell them, I, the Lord, am your God. You shall not do as they do in the land of Egypt, where you once lived, nor shall you do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not conform to their customs. My decrees you shall carry out, and my statutes you should take care to follow. I, the Lord, am your God. Keep then my statutes and decrees, for the man who carries them out will find life through them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach a close relative to have sexual intercourse with her. I am the Lord. You shall not disgrace your father by having intercourse with your mother. Besides, since she is your own mother, you shall not have intercourse with her. You shall not have intercourse with your father's wife, for that would be a disgrace to your father. You shall not have intercourse with your sister, your father's daughter, or your mother's daughter, whether she was born in your own household or born elsewhere. You shall not have intercourse with your son's daughter, or with your daughter's daughter, for that would be a disgrace to your own family. You shall not have intercourse with the daughter whom your father's wife bore to him, since she too is your sister. You shall not have intercourse with your father's sister, since she is your father's relative. You shall not have intercourse with your mother's sister, since she is your mother's relative. You shall not disgrace your father's brother by being intimate with his wife, since she too is your aunt. You shall not have intercourse with your daughter-in-law, she is your son's wife. And therefore you shall not disgrace her. You shall not have intercourse with your brother's wife, for that would be a disgrace to your brother. You shall not have intercourse with a woman, and also with her daughter, nor shall you marry and have intercourse with her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. This would be shameful because they are related to her. While your wife is still living, you shall not marry her sister as her rival, for thus you would disgrace your first wife. You should not approach a woman to have intercourse with her. She is unclean from menstruation. You shall not have carnal relations with your neighbor's wife, defiling yourself with her. You shall not offer any of your offspring to be immolated to Molech, thus profaning the name of your God. I am the Lord. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. Such a thing is an abomination. You shall not have carnal relations with an animal, defiling yourself with it. Nor shall a woman set herself in front of an animal to mate with it. Such things are abhorrent. Do not defile yourselves by any of these things by which the nations whom I am driving out of your way have defiled themselves, because their land has become defiled. I am punishing it for its wickedness by making it vomit out its inhabitants. You, however, whether natives or resident aliens, must keep my statutes and decrees, forbidding all such abominations by which the previous inhabitants defiled the land. Otherwise the land will vomit you out also for having defiled it, just as it vomited out the nations before you. Everyone who does any of these abominations shall be cut off from among his people. Heed my charge, then, not to defile yourselves by observing the abomination customs that have been observed before you. I, the Lord, am your God. Now, we also have other things here, the rules of conduct and so on and so forth, but this is just proof that further things in the LGBT community are wrong. Beastiality, which is in the LGBT community, is wrong. Pedophilia is wrong. Incest is wrong. And being gay is wrong. All right here in the one passage, which is chapter 18, the whole chapter of Leviticus, right? And it's telling us everything that we're not to do. We're not to have sex with our in-laws, our relatives, and things like that, right? We're not to have sex with our mother or our father or our brother's girl or our brother's, wife and that sort of thing, right? And this talks about the sanctity of marriage, and the only time that you're allowed to remarry is when your wife dies, or in the case of the woman, when the husband dies, right? And it talks about that here too, that you're not allowed to be with her sister because then that goes against that defiles her, right? So that defiles your wife. So you cannot be with another person at all, right? And you cannot marry her sister unless she's dead. While your wife is still living, you shall not marry her sister as a rival, right? So there's the thing, right? So the only person that you're allowed to have sex with literally is your wife, and that's it. And no one else. And if she dies, then you're allowed to remarry, only if she dies, right? Because you shouldn't. While your wife is still living, you shall not marry her sister as a rival. Okay? So, in other words, you're not allowed to marry anybody while your wife is still alive. So, You're not allowed to get divorced. You're not allowed to um, marry someone else and have more than one wife. This is sodomy, right? And so there you go. I mean, it describes bestiality. It describes being gay. Like here's this part. You should not lie with a male as with a woman. Such a thing is an abomination. You should not have carnal relations with an animal, defiling yourself with it, nor shall a woman set herself in front of an animal to mate with it. Such a thing is abhorrent. So these are different abominations, right? So therefore you're not allowed to engage in sex with animals. You're not allowed to engage sex with the same sex. And you're not allowed to do incest, which was the rest of it. And you're not allowed to have sex with anyone else unless your wife has passed away and you get remarried, right? And that's the only time you can get remarried. So you're not allowed to divorce. You're not allowed to, um, you know, there's a lot to unpack right here, right? And this is why people need to start reading the Bible, because we are living in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Where every sexual sin is happening. And God smite them. God had a volcano blow up. He brought out a bunch of fire and brimstone and that and just cast it down on them and just smoked them. Lot was the one that was in there actually at the time, and he ran away from it. And maybe that's another thing that I'll read to you. So this is the sanctity of sex, right? Sex is meant for the marriage bed only, between the husband and wife only. That's it. With the man on top with the sole purpose of having babies. Because when we go back to the book of Genesis, it says that, to go forward, be fruitful and multiply. And God put us together as husband and wife through Adam and Eve, which is man and woman, right? Okay, and I will read this. Chapter 1, Genesis 28 says, God blessed them, saying to them, be fertile and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. And then when we go to another part in Genesis, it also says too, just trying to find it here. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, the man called his wife Eve because she became the mother of all the living, and that's in Genesis 3:20. Yeah, so when God created man, he said, that is why a man leaves his father or mother and clings to his wife, so the two become one body. So they become flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Genesis 2, 23, 24, and 25. So people really need to start paying attention to the Bible and start reading it, and actually understanding what it's saying. Because right here, as I read to you in Leviticus, it's telling you all the sexual sins, right? So self-pleasure and all that, no, you're not allowed to do these things, right? And this is why Sodom and Gomorrah got smoked, by God, right? And we're living in those days right now because of the LGBT community. And I have nothing against anybody. This is not hate speech. This is just right out of the Bible telling you about sexual sin, right? The sanctity of sex, right? Okay? So hopefully that made sense to you guys. Thank you very much for your time. and we'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down below. Thank you.